Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, October 27th, 2023. We have a couple of interesting topics to go over, so let's dive right into the forecast here. First of all, we have our observations, which are featuring a lot of cloud cover, especially over the interior. No precipitation, though. Temperatures ranging from the upper 50s to lower 60s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s in some of your suburbs, mid to upper 60s as you head towards the coast. It is going to be a very warm day with temperatures well above normal, possibly reaching record levels by tomorrow in a few isolated locations. One thing for sure is going to feel summer-like. Don't get too used to it, though, because major changes are on the way. Now, when we take a look at our radar, you can see on the WeatherTap radar and surface map, we have a trough here and what looks to be rain. Lots of rain, but nothing's actually reaching the ground. So what's actually going on here? Well, let's take a look at some of our data. And this is from twistedData.com. And what is featuring here is the skew-T, or the way that we look at the atmosphere in a two-dimensional and three-dimensional spectrum, uh, over southeastern Pennsylvania, which is right about in the heart of all this. And so far, we're not seeing any rain. And the reason why is because while the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere are saturated, supporting cloud cover and rain falling from those clouds, once they get to 700 millibars and down towards 925 millibars, you have some very dry air. And so what's happening here is that the rain's falling through these columns, but they're not reaching the ground because they're evaporating. So you have all this dry air basically protecting us. And so what that leads to is what we call virga. Now, even with the support of warm air transport, and you can see this little trough here, there just isn't enough lifting to overcome all of this dry air. And so as a result, you end up with this on the satellite picture, strong lifting here in the mid levels with our frontogenesis, with our warm air transport taking shape. But because of the dry air, nothing actually reaches the ground. So you can thank this area of dry air for a day of mixing sun and clouds today, mix of sun and clouds, but no precipitation. But don't get you used to that. See, as we take a look at our upper level winds, changes are afoot. Notice that the polar jet stream starting to dig once again. This ridge is starting to flex, but starting to push off the coast here. You can see another ridge building in the Gulf of Alaska and a trough building around the Aleutians. And with that evolution taking place in the Pacific, this trough here is going to be getting pushed into the eastern United States. Now, part of this process is due to the evolution of what we're seeing here with the polar vortex. It is being stretched, it is being twisted about, and as a result, you can see the lowest heights of the polar vortex in the stratosphere are focusing towards North America, and that's basically forcing the polar and Arctic air masses to build into Canada, building up the snowpack there. So that would certainly keeping an eye on that as we head towards the end of the month, but also increasing the potential for some high latitude blocking. Now, when take a look at the water vapor satellite picture right now, you can start to see the trough starting to dig and push towards the east. This is what's left of Tammy, which actually could redevelop as a tropical storm or hurricane once again after it became extratropical. So that's certainly interesting, but that's going to remain out in the Atlantic and no threat to us. But you could see changes starting to gradually take hold as this trough is starting to push east, and that ridge here has been in control of our weather for the past couple of days, providing excellent weather conditions, starts to push east. And you can also see the warm air transport from the polar and subtropical jet streams combining here. So with all this evolving here, it sets up a pattern where as this trough pushes south, it's going to start to push that polar and Arctic air mass towards our neck of the woods, increasing what we call frontogenesis, or basically a front with a thermal gradient. And because of that thermal gradient, you get lifting in the atmosphere. And that's going to increase as we move on through the weekend. Now, for tomorrow, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. But by the time we get to Sunday, that surface cold front boundary starts to push south. And notice what we start to develop as we move through the weekend into early next week. Keep an eye on this area right here. when we start to see this showing up with above normal heights in Greenland and below normal heights over eastern Canada, well, that sets up what we call a block. Now, this isn't a perfect block. It's not completely textbook here, but it's good enough to force this short wave right here to head towards the mid-Atlantic coast. And that's also supported on the GFS and GFS ensembles and European ensembles. So we have the support here for a block in the pattern and a short wave coming around that block and getting forced towards the mid-Atlantic coast. That's pretty clear. The question is, because this is a little bit displaced to the north here, the question is whether this whole process happens a little bit too late. And that is essentially the difference in the model guidance here as we look at various models addressing this situation. So when we take a look at the 500 millibar PVA, for today, like I said, because of dry air, no precipitation is expected, just a mix of sun and clouds. Same thing for tomorrow. Sunday, we start to get a little bit stronger push of that polar air mass, and we start to set up a little bit more of what we call frontogenesis. We got a little bit more of a thermal gradient here. You also have enhancement and lifting as the ridge is exiting and the trough is starting to build in. So you're having falling 500 millibar heights down to 850 millibars. So you increase the potential here for more scattered showers to start to develop around the region in response to that frontogenesis. On Monday, that process continues very slowly. Again, this isn't going to be a fast step down or anything of that nature. This is going to be very slow. So on Sunday, we start to see that step down. We get a little bit cooler. Monday, we continue to see that process evolve with, again, the warmest air to the south. So down towards southern New Jersey, pretty warm. Up to the north towards the Poconos and the Catskills, much cooler. As that process continues, we start to see on Tuesday, we get a little bit of a break, a little bit of a ridge axis. So those of you out there trick-or-treating, well, good news, maybe an isolated shower, but for the most part, not too bad because of this ridge axis that shows up very nicely here ahead of this trough. So we get a little bit of a break on Halloween with only a mix of sun and clouds and just a passing isolated shower, not too far from what we're experiencing today. Now, as we get to the night, Halloween night into the start of November, this is where the pattern gets a little bit more interesting. You see, this is where we start to see that interaction with the short wave here and the strong lifting. And as a result of that, we start to get a coastal low and look at this cold air transport building in with cold air aloft. Now, because it's late October and early November, this will translate to basically 40s on the coast and 30s over the inland. So it's cold enough aloft for snow aloft, but at the surface, it'll be rain along the coast in this scenario. But there's a lot of differences in the model guidance onto whether or not this actually develops as shown here on the European. And the difference really comes down to timing. In the GFS guidance, there is support for a low pressure system development, but it's further east because this whole process happens further east. And a lot of that depends on the evolution of the block, which we'll have a better understanding over the next 48 hours. In other words, by Sunday morning, we'll have a pretty good idea if we're dealing with a bit of an issue on Wednesday morning with this storm. So we'll be keeping an eye on this, especially for locations around the Poconos, the Catskills, for some wintry mix out of this scenario and a cold rain along the coast as this low pressure system develops. But this is all driven by the evolution of the polar vortex getting pushed and stretched towards North America, the high latitude blocking that develops as a result. And because of that high latitude blocking, you open up your potential here for this coastal low pressure system. And again, the cold air, alluding to the winter forecast, doesn't remain locked in. It gives way, but it comes in at just the right time for just the right storm. So very interesting evolution in the pattern on the way. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. So let's dive into this forecast. For today, Mix of sun and clouds. Again, watch out for an isolated shower, especially towards the interior, but for the most part, tranquil conditions. Look for high temperatures in the lower to mid 70s. Very pleasant out there. For tonight into tomorrow morning, mix of clouds, some low clouds mixed in there. Look for lows in the upper 50s to lower 60s for tomorrow afternoon. Mix of sun and clouds once again. Look for high temperatures in the lower to mid 70s over the northern interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast, and upper 70s to lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Sunday, this is where our system gets a little bit more interesting. Now, on Sunday morning, the cold front gets pushed to the south, but not really much in the way of precipitation, just some scattered broken cloud cover. By the afternoon and evening, though, we'll start to see scattered showers, especially along and north of the I-95 corridor, with temperatures on Sunday ranging from the lower to mid 40s over the northern interior, upper 40s to lower 50s in your suburbs, lower to mid 50s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, upper 50s to mid 60s around the Delaware River Valley, and then upper 60s to lower 70s in the I-95 corridor. So a nice range of temperatures, mostly driven by this cold front boundary. And again, depending on where it's placed, it could end up being a little bit cooler as we head further south. So we'll keep an eye on that. On Monday, that front continues to linger around the region with waves of low pressure developing along it, leading to scattered showers. Look for low temperatures ranging from the upper 40s to lower 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the mid 50s to lower 60s over the northern interior and mid 60s to lower 70s along the coast. Again, depending on where that frontal boundary sets up. On Halloween, that frontal boundary drips to the south, and that's going to lead to scattered cloud cover with, again, an isolated shower or threat, but for the most part, looks like a dry day for all you ghouls and ghosts out there. Look for temperatures to range from, and this is going to be pretty chilly for Halloween, lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s in your suburbs, lower to mid 40s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 40s over the northern interior, lower to mid 50s along the coast. On Wednesday, that wave of low pressure starts to develop, really starting late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And as it develops and organizes, you'll see periods of rain developing along the coast. And yes, that's snow and sleet. Now, again, if this low pressure system develops more like out here, then this all pretty much misses and you just get a few showers along the coast. No big deal. So we'll be keeping an eye on the evolution of this storm very carefully. But yes, there is a potential here for some wet snow, sleet, and rain for the locations northwest of the I-95 corridor. So let's say northwest of New Jersey, the Poconos, Catskills, basically the Hudson Highlands, up through Connecticut and into New England. We could see a nice little wintry mix here on Wednesday morning. Low temperatures will range from the mid to upper 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s in your suburbs, lower to mid 40s along the coast. High temperatures won't be moving all that much, with high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 30s over the northern interior, upper 40s to lower 50s in your suburbs, and lower to mid 50s in your urban areas. On Thursday, high pressure builds in and continues to remain in place through Friday with tranquil weather conditions, although a bit chilly, with low temperatures throughout the region and lower to mid 30s. So definitely, if you have any type of plants that you want to take indoors, I would certainly bring them in if you haven't already, as we will be dealing with widespread freezing conditions. And also you might want to check your pipes and all that stuff in your basements. Make sure that the water is closed out for locations that point out to outside. That'd be very important. Look for high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 40s over the northern interior and lower to mid 50s along the coast. Have a wonderful weekend, and as always, stay safe out there.